Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfix. This will be the continuation of Data Stream. This will be Part 24, Chapter 24. Hitoshi had spent all day Friday and Saturday training with Aizawa. Now that Stain had been caught, he still couldn't believe he had really done that. Aizawa didn't feel the need to keep up with the same schedule of following Ida. Also, Ida had been sent back home early from his internship, officially citing his injuries, but unofficially due to his actions. Hitoshi knew Aizawa was pissed at Ida, but Izuku had convinced him not to expel him. Just like with Sero, Izuku thought humiliation would be a better punishment. Hitoshi couldn't wait to hear what plans Izu had. He had been very adamant about not telling, wanting to keep it a secret, only hinting that he'd done this before and enjoyed it. Hitoshi would find out on Monday. Sunday finally came, and as it was the last day of internship, Aizawa and Hitoshi got on the train and returned home. Hitoshi had given his costume case to Aizawa, as he was going to be heading to the school to visit Recovery Girl to get his stitches removed and offer to drop off Hitoshi's costume. Hitoshi was in a really good mood as he made his way back home. He had proven he was a hero. Okay, well, hero student, but he had taken down the hero killer. There were multiple comments under that news article that had thanked him for what he'd done, just thinking of all the people who were impressed with him and who had wished him luck in his career as a hero made him missed up, even 3 days later. Remembering the look on Aizawa's face, as he said he was proud of him, Hitoshi wished his foster parents were half as supportive as his mentor was. It was still early afternoon by the time Hitoshi unlocked the front door and headed into his foster home. He knew his fosters wouldn't care about his accomplishments. They never did, so he didn't bother telling them. He just nodded a greeting at them and headed up to his room to put his things away. Upon opening the door, however, he saw that all his things had been packed up in black garbage bags. They were getting rid of him. With tears in his eyes, Hitoshi dropped his bags. While this home wasn't supportive, this had been the longest placement he'd ever had, 3 years. This home hadn't abused him like all the others. They had mostly left him alone. They had allowed him to train with Aizawa-sensei. They had let him enroll at UA even. What had he done wrong? Why did they decide, now, to get rid of him? He had followed all the rules. He never spoke while at home. He did all of the cooking and cleaning. He took care of the yard work. Why didn't they want him anymore? What did he do wrong? Stifling his tears, Hitoshi went back downstairs. Why? He signed, knowing he'd be punished for speaking, even if they were getting rid of him. You're dangerous, his foster mom exclaimed. We always knew you were a villain, but now? First you show how dangerous you can be without your quirk at that festival, then you go off to Hosu. Don't think we didn't put it together. We know you're just trying to get in everyone's good graces so you can betray them later. We know it was you who that article spoke about. His foster dad added, Your social worker will be here in about 5 minutes. Come here. Unable to stop the tears from coming again, Hitoshi did step forward. He knew what was coming. The muzzle. Izuku was in the teacher's lounge, laying on the couch using his uncle as a pillow. Izuku was looking through his vast library of good morning memes, trying to decide if he should send a grumpy cat or a psychotic owl or some type of living coffee mug to the group chat with Hitoshi and Shoto. He decided on all 3. He then set up Ida's proximity theme for the day and added an extra layer to the code that would lower the volume while in the presence of their teachers. Izuku didn't want to upset the faculty, just Ida. Good morning, Zuku. Morning, Shoto. Morning, Hito. I'm totally looking forward to hearing about everyone's internship experiences. I'm sure everyone will be wanting to hear about your own as well. Well, if I was a student and actually went on an internship, maybe I would have a story to tell. Toshi, didn't Zuku help you in Hosu? I don't know what you're talking about, Sho. I stayed home all week with my papa. We watched movies and took the cats to the vet for their checkups. Cream needs to have a tooth pulled. While I believe that happened, I'm also sure that Datastream was helping in Hosu. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. The conversation paused for a few minutes. Hito, are you feeling okay? It looks like you're still at home. Call him. 1 minute. Izuku called Hitoshi and waited for him to pick up, and continued to wait. Izuku frowned as he was sent a voicemail. Hitoshi never sent him to voicemail. He sent me to voicemail? He never does that. Maybe he's just really tired. I mean, Aizawa did run him pretty hard. Hey, Uncle, was Hito super sore yesterday? Izuku asked, poking his uncle until he woke up. Grumbling a half-coherent reply, Uncle said, No. If he was, he didn't say anything. Why? He hasn't left his house yet, Izuku answered. I'm assuming you've tried calling him. I tried, but he sent me to voicemail, and now it's been turned off? Izuku looked up at Uncle. Something's wrong with Hito. He'd never send me to voicemail and then turn off his phone. Uncle looked at Izuku's worried face and then nudged him to get off. I'll call his Fosters. Maybe he came down with something and is sleeping it off, he said doubtfully, adding on when Izuku gave him a look. I know. He would have texted you, but I'm attempting to be hopeful here, since you apparently can't do your job properly. You know you're the designated Sunshine Child, right? Uncle pulled out his phone and called Hitoshi's foster parents, Izuku listening in. Hello? Came the voice of Hito's foster mother. Hello, is this Tanaka-san? Uncle confirmed. Yes, may I ask who's calling? She verified. I am Aizawa Shota, Shinso's homeroom teacher and mentor. My nephew is one of his friends and was worried about him, since he hasn't answered his phone all morning. Can you tell me how he is? Oh, no, I cannot. That boy no longer lives with us. He was relocated to another home yesterday. He left his phone here and we were not informed of where his new home is. I was actually going to be coming by UA today to remove my husband and I from his contact information. Uncle was stunned silent for a few moments. I see. Can you give me the contact information of someone who would know where he is and how to contact him? No, sorry. I didn't catch the name of the social worker who came for him. Uncle raised an eyebrow at Izuku's vacant stare, obvious signs of streaming visible, and knew he was searching for Hitoshi. Thank you. We'll find him on our own. Uncle hung up the phone. I'll find him, Uncle. Go to class. Uncle ruffled Izuku's hair and said, Okay, but get in the sleeping bag first, otherwise you know people will try to interrupt you. Izuku grabbed the sleeping bag and went to Uncle's desk, got in the bright yellow abomination, then curled up under the desk. I'll come get you for lunch if you haven't found him by then. Izuku hummed in assent, and then fully immersed himself in the stream. Someone tried to take his moon away from him. He needed to find him. He needed his moonlight. Shoto had gotten to class a little earlier than normal, hoping to spend a little more time with Hitoshi. He wanted to congratulate him in person for his defeat of Stain, even though he had already done so over the phone a few times already. Hitoshi was still in shock over defeating the villain, and it was adorable. Shoto found it odd how his phone had started playing some song as he had gotten closer to the classroom. It was a song he didn't recognize, and it didn't look as though he was getting a phone call. He couldn't figure out why his phone was making that noise until he had opened the door to the classroom and found Ida somewhere between a glare and a pout. Ah, Izuku was annoyed with Ida for something. He remembered how Izuku had done that to his father a few years ago. Ida, Shoto greeted as he walked to his desk to wait for Hitoshi to arrive. Todoroki, came Ida's stiff greeting. The two of them remained silent, just listening to the song on their phones, Ida clearly knowing what song it was, while Shoto was clueless. 10 minutes later, half the class had arrived, and each of their phones had started playing the same song by the time they had gotten close to the classroom. Shoto had kept himself occupied by finding and sending cat pictures to the group chat between Izuku and Hitoshi, hoping that Hitoshi would reply. Denki and Nato entered at the same time and made their way over to Shoto. Man, it's the Sonic the Hedgehog theme, Denki cheered. I haven't played that since I was like 10. I wonder what Ida did to upset our benevolent green overlord, Nato laughed. Hey, where's Hitoshi? He's usually here before us. I don't know, Shoto said, a bit concerned. We've tried texting him, and Izuku's tried calling, but we haven't gotten a reply yet. That's odd. The three boys all exchanged glances. Well, I'm sure Izu will let us know what's going on with him. There's no way he hasn't already found him, Nato said. You're right, Denki said. So, how was your internship? He's not going to cry. He's not. He's been through this before. This time isn't worse than the last time. It doesn't hurt more than any of the other times. The closet isn't smaller than any other closet. The muzzle isn't smaller than any other time. It's not a muzzle. It's his persona cords. He just doesn't want to talk. There's no one to talk to in this closet. He just needs to get the strap on his persona cords adjusted a bit. It's a little tight. He's not ignoring the fact that his persona cords don't actually have a strap. He's not going to cry. Hitoshi didn't have his lockpicks on him, so he couldn't remove the muzzle. It's not a muzzle. It's his persona cords. He didn't have his phone. Did they even send his phone with him? So he wasn't sure how long it would be until Izuku found him, but he knew he would. His sunshine would definitely find him. And Izuku was his sunshine. He had a presence that lit up a room. His smile was like a warm, sunny day, chasing away his doubts and fears. No matter how dark his thoughts, a simple smile from Izuku could make everything all right again. The homes he had been in before had left scars on his mind, but Izuku had been able to heal most of them. A gentle touch when he had been expecting to be struck, a kiss on the cheek, where his old muscle scars were, had caused him to be less self-conscious about them. Izuku cared about him. Izu would know something was wrong, right? When he didn't text him a good morning, cat. Shoto would know too, right? He always texted him an Ice Princess meme in the morning. He'd realize something was wrong. Shoto was still new to their group, but he was every bit as important to him as Izuku was. Shoto was brilliant, in a quiet and subtle way, a way that complimented both him and Izu. He was a flirt, and he was not subtle about that at all, but Hitoshi thought it suited him. His quiet, brilliant sparkle. Shoto was... he was like starlight. Izuku was his sunshine, and Shoto was his starlight. His sun and stars. They'll know something is wrong. They'll find him. Right? But what if they don't? Okay, so I still can't find Hito, but I found a social worker. Her name is Tachibana Rie. She's been his worker for the past 3 years, and she was the one who had initially spoken out against his last placement and got him removed. Izuku was info-dumping on Shota and Nezu while he was pretending to eat the lunch Uncle had brought him. Taking another tiny bite, Izuku continued. She's not the one who took him yesterday, though. She's on vacation in England. I still don't know who took my Hito, or where he is. Zu, Shota muttered, pulling Izuku into a tight hug. I know you'll find him, and when you do, I'll go pick him up. If he's in a bad home, Nezu corrected. Let us not assume the worst. It is quite possible that he is not in school today because he is settling into his new residence. He would have called by now, Izuku said. He would have called either me or Shoto. Sho's worried about him too. Shota tapped Izuku on the head, softly but still firmly, when he noticed that Izuku's eyes were showing signs of streaming again. No zoning out right now, Zu. Finish your lunch first. Izuku pouted, but took a huge bite of food. When I finally have the location for where Hito is, can you take Shoto with you? I suppose I can. We can bring a new phone for Hitoshi, and the three of you can chat for a while. Shota agreed. Izuku nodded. I'm a little bummed Hito hadn't kept his costume case and let you take it back yesterday, Izuku added. It'd be so easy to find him if he had the case on him, since there are trackers in his case and costume. Nezu perked up a little at that. I'll speak with Power Loader. I think I want to see about getting you a necklace with a tracking device in it so we never have to worry about you being abducted. Izuku smirked at that. Unless there are some heavy-duty quirk suppressants in use, you will never have to worry about not being able to find me, Nezu. Izuku paused. But if you can get me 2 of those, I'd like to make sure Hito and Shoto can never be out of my reach again. Not knowing where my moon is making me a bit nervous. More than a bit nervous, actually. Shota looked at his nephew with slight amusement. He hadn't missed the fact that Izuku had been occasionally calling Shinso his moon, and even Todoroki got a name, Star. If those 3 weren't an item by the end of the week, Shota was going to lock them all in a room until they confessed to each other. How long had it been? A day? 2? A week? Hitoshi didn't know anymore. He wasn't even sure they were looking for him. Wouldn't they have found him by now? He couldn't even pretend this muzzle was anything other than a muzzle at this point, and he had been scratching at it, trying to pry the damn thing off for what felt like days to no effect. He was hungry, thirsty, tired. He wanted his sunshine, his starlight. He wanted to go home, but where even was home? Home would be with his sun and star. But did they love him like he loves them? What if they aren't looking for him? What if they're happier now that he's gone? Gods, Hitoshi should have told them how he felt when he had the chance. Now they would never know. He was probably going to die in this closet, starved, dehydrated, isolated. He wasn't going to cry. He wasn't. He could get through this. But what if he couldn't? If no one was looking for him, no one would find him. Hitoshi lifted his head. Was that a noise? Was there someone here? His eyes opened frantically. Were they going to help him or hurt him? At this point, he didn't care. He needed to get out of this closet, get this muzzle off. He started to weakly kick at the door, hoping that he was making enough noise for whoever was on the other side to hear. Hitoshi? Oh, that sounded like Shoto. He kicked at the door again, as hard as he could with the little strength he had left. Sensei, he's in here, he heard Shoto call out. Hang on, Toshi, I'll get this door opened. Hitoshi could hear him trying to force the door open, but then called out. Sensei, there's a padlock. Can I use my quirk to open it? Let me try it first, Todoroki, came his mentor's calm voice. They really had come for him. They cared enough to find him. They didn't abandon him like so many others had before. The door of the closet opened, and in the bright light outside the room, Hitoshi could see Shoto. He let his tears fall. He had been holding them back for so long, but now he could let them go. He was saved. His starlight was here, his mentor was here. Was his sunshine here too? Shoto reached into the closet and pulled Hitoshi into a tight hug, while Aizawa examined the muzzle and started using lockpicks to remove it, working around Shoto. As if he could hear his thoughts, Shoto said, "Zuko isn't here. He's getting all sorts of abuse and neglect charges pulled up on the people who run this home. He's the one who found you, though, and he's waiting for us to call him." Hitoshi nodded slightly, clinging to Shoto with everything he had left in him. The muzzle fell away. All right, listeners, this concludes Chapter 24 of Data Stream. Chapter 25 will be up next. Eager to hear your thoughts and reactions to this chapter, and as always, thank you all so much for listening.